But what about the city of the day after tomorrow, say the year 2000? I think it will be completely different. In fact, it may not even exist at all. Oh, I'm not thinking of the atom bomb and the next Stone Age. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough which has been made possible by developments in communications, particularly the transistor and, above all, the communications satellite. These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other, wherever we may be, where we can contact our friends anywhere on Earth, even if we don't know their actual physical location. It will be possible in that age, perhaps only 50 years from now, for a man to conduct his business from Tahiti or Bali just as well as he could from London. In fact, if it proves worthwhile, almost any executive skill, any administrative skill, even any physical skill, could be made independent of distance. I am perfectly serious when I suggest that one day we may have brain surgeons in Edinburgh operating on patients in New Zealand. When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk to a point, and the traditional role of the city as a meeting place for man would have ceased to make any sense. In fact, men will no longer commute, they will communicate. They won't have to travel for business anymore, they'll only travel for pleasure. I only hope that when that day comes, and when the city is abolished, the whole world isn't turned into one giant suburb.
That is just amazing. Arthur C. Clarke is one of the amazing dudes in history. If you look back in some of his writings, and just I've seen a bunch of his clips here on YouTube that are so impressive. I mean, talk about foresight. That guy definitely had it. I mean, listen, the future is a fascinating topic, and I highlighted that just to showcase what it sounds like. I think when you get all the answers that you wanted from history. So I bark all the time about the pumpers in the silver industry, and they're talking about a future that could look like this, that, or the other as it relates to the precious metals. And I usually typically, roll my eyes a little bit at some of the numbers and some of the logic. But at the end of the day, history is an interesting thing, and none of those people are going to be proven wrong for quite a while, because you got to wait for the answers. You got to wait for the good answers. I mean, I can't speak to which way the wind was blowing the day that Mr. Clarke was prognosticating the future of technology, but I'm sure there was a few eye rollers at that time about working from home and communicating via instant communication platforms, etc. Like, the guy was phenomenal. So when you turn it back to the precious metals, this is things like this influence my train of thought, and I do spend a lot of time again looking at history and seeing what was happening during lead ups to specific times, not because I want to get rich off the metals, but because it's a fascinating thing to me to understand what is going to happen to the world when things are going on like what we see today. And reality is, none of us living today have ever lived really through any of those days. So none of us have a clue, right? And we have to look for the clues in history. So, I think that's why I'm in the metals. At the end of the day, I think that there is just too much messing around with the money supply. There is just too much debt. Broke governments are historically have led themselves to war and conflict in order to satisfy some economic challenges, and we're seeing that today. We're seeing CBDCs on the rise here. Governments are taking control of money supplies. This is all sort of very similar to what we see in history. So this has been a rant. I apologize, but I love that Arthur C. Clarke clip predicting the future, not about the metals. Too bad again that guy couldn't provide some foresight. But what's really cool about that guy is he lived till 2008, and he was able to see his bets placed in the 60s and the 70s come through like marvelously in current day, and he was able to see that before the end of his life. And I just wonder what that would feel like being right. And often I think that's probably why there's so many silver and gold pumpers in our community that just throw out a new number for each metal every day, so that in the future, 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, whatever it is, they can say they were right about what they thought the future of the metals was going to be back in 2023, when I wrote that gold was going to $300,000 an ounce. So I don't know. Anyways, I'm now ranting, but I love history. I love sort of prognostication. I love all of these things about our lovely community here with precious metals. And I look forward to doing more content. So there you go. I will talk to you guys soon and see you on the next video. Until then, guys, stay awesome.